So today I'm going to be talking about a bait that I absolutely love to fish and that I feel like has lost a spot in a lot of anglers' arsenals. And this lure for me produced a ton of my biggest fish I caught last year, and I practically fish it all year round due to how versatile it is. So I'm excited to tell you guys more about this bait. So I'm going to head inside out of the wind real quick and continue talking. So now that I'm inside, I'm going to tell you guys what the topic of this video is about. This bait is one that is still super popular to a lot of anglers, and to others it has been completely replaced by a different, more popular bait now. This technique is super popular and will forever be popular, and I actually learned how to fish it from my dad. It is one that here in the Midwest works extremely well for a lot of the different occasions you have around here, because a lot of times the water is dirty, and this lure I'm talking about is a spinnerbait. Now, like I said a second ago, the spinnerbait has been replaced by a ton of people almost exclusively for a chatterbait, and now I think that those two have completely different areas where you want to fish them depending on the forage and all the other factors. So there's two different main ways that I like to fish a spinnerbait, and they're pretty different in the ways that I use them. And the first one that I caught a ton of fish on my entire life and will continue to do so is a big double Colorado spinnerbait, double Colorado, and a chartreuse and white, or all chartreuse or all white colored one, with a gigantic grub on the back. This is a Kalen's, I think, Mogumbo, and it is huge. This bait next to my hand, it's the size of my hand, it's gigantic, and this thing moves so much water, and the thump of the double Colorado blades just puts off so much vibration that the fish will notice this 100%, no matter how dirty the water is. I have fished this in literally water where it disappears the second it touches it, and they will still eat this. My favorite thing about this lure is using it in the colder times of year. So March, which it is right now, towards the end of it when the water gets a little bit warmer, I really like to throw this bait because of how slow you can reel it. So compared to the second topic that I was going to talk about in a second here, being a straight tail trailered double willow bladed spinnerbait like this Megabass SV3, the double Colorado giant grub trailer spinnerbait, you can reel it way slower than one like this just because of the amount of just lure there is. So with this bait, with the giant tail, you can literally throw this up to a log, which my favorite is fishing this around docks or laydowns, and you can throw it up against a log and reel it over the structure because of how insanely weedless a spinnerbait is. A spinnerbait with having this whole arm in the front is way more weedless than a chatterbait is. So I like to fish this around way more heavy cover than I do a chatterbait. And like I said, having the ability to reel this way slower than any other lure allows you to really fish it as slow as you need to for these colder water fish that are sitting super tight to cover, especially in muddy water. I'm gonna head to the local pond real quick and show you guys some action of how this thing performs in the water with how slow you can reel it. I'm gonna show it next to some footage of this type of spinnerbait, which I'll talk about when I get back from the pond and show you guys the footage real quick. I'll show it next to this footage of how this one sinks way quicker than this one whenever you're slow rolling it. So I'm gonna jump to the chest cam right now and the big camera to show it swimming in the water. So first off, this is gonna be the double Colorado one. And as you can see, the amount of water that it moves is just ridiculous. And you can literally crawl it this slow, where the blades are barely working, yet you still get a ton of action kicking out of that giant grub. Look at the grub on the back. Then here we have the double willow one, which the SV3 just always stays straight, which is great about it, but like you cannot reel it near as slow due to not having a giant trailer or those huge blades on it. So like, for example, I try to bring it by like really slow here, and it still looks good, but you lose a little bit of, you don't have near as much action. The blades kick like crazy, but you just obviously don't have the giant trailer, which also doesn't allow you to work it as slow because there's not as much drag. So now that I'm back, you guys can see how ridiculously slow you can reel this thing, and it does stay true. Now, when a trailer this big is on your bait, you really have to find a good spinnerbait. Now, I go back and forth from like Greenfish Tackle to Booyah to random companies. I'll try literally any spinnerbait there is that is a double Colorado, because in my opinion, they're just, I haven't really found one I love yet. I found a double willow I love, which is the SV3, but I have yet to find a double Colorado I love. I've had some recommendations from the comments, so I will be trying those this spring. And now I'm gonna throw in a real quick clip from a video from last March. It was like March 15th, I believe, something like that, where I was in a tournament and I caught a fish that was probably 4-ish pounds on this exact method using a giant trailer on a spinnerbait, and the water temp here was freezing, and it had also just rained, so the water was disgustingly dirty, and I was just slow rolling this on a windy bank, and it produced a super good fish. Oh, That's like a 4 or 5.
Oh yeah, bro.
That fish hammered it. He's already, no, it's not that. Please be 18.
That's a good one. That's a 4.5.
Look at the, dude, please be 18.
If it's not on the shot, it's gotta be.
Come on.
Has to be, that's a toad.
So now talking about the second type of spinnerbait that I like to throw, and that is a smaller, more compact double willow blade like this Megabass SV3. And my favorite trailers to throw on a bait like this is either no trailer whenever they have these strands on here sometimes. Let me grab one to show. Here's a new SV3 that's not missing like half the skirt because I've caught like 1 billion fish on this and half the skirt is missing and all the strands are missing, but here's a new one. And as you guys can see, it's got these leg things are basically imitating a trailer on the back already, so you can get away with just throwing that as is, but I like to throw a straight tailed trailer on there and it just gives it a little bit more just something going on. And now you can't slow roll this as much as you can the big grub one, but you still can skip this great under docks, and I like to burn these a lot around grass, logs, docks, anything, but the one issue with it is how a double willow in super dirty water will not perform as well as a double Colorado or even one of each. So this is my favorite for a little bit cleaner water. When the water's not absolute chocolate milk, I'll definitely pick this one up. Then here we have the double willow one, which the SV3 just always stays straight, which is great about it, but like you cannot reel it near as slow due to not having a giant trailer or those huge blades on it. So like, for example, I try to bring it by like really slow here and it still looks good, but you lose a little bit of, you don't have near as much action. The blades kick like crazy, but you just obviously don't have the giant trailer, which also doesn't allow you to work it as slow because there's not as much drag. I really love to cast this at docks and just hammer it into the dock post on the side or a cross beam, literally throw it up in there as far as you can. I will throw this around heavy cover on 20-pound test on a flipping stick and just slam it to cover. These SV3s have a pretty good and pretty strong hook on there, so you can throw them around some pretty thick stuff. So I'm gonna throw a clip in real quick of a different tournament last October when I caught another 4-pounder on this exact bait right here, throwing it up against a staircase on a dock. I won't move us. Giant.
Oh my god. I mean, do we even need to compare them? You think your other one's bigger? For sure?
Watch out, go back there. It's a 4-pounder.
That one's definitely bigger. This one's way bigger.
Goodbye, 4-pounder. And you guys saw the action of it earlier in the water when I was comparing it to the giant one. And this bait is incredibly good looking, especially in the clear water like the one that I was fishing it in. I will throw a spinnerbait even in crystal clear water like that because it throws off so much flash and glare that the fish can't stand it and will hammer it. And now I'm gonna talk about when I like to throw these. Like I said before, for the big giant grub trailer one, dirty water, when it's a little bit colder, those fish will still eat big baits. You see it all the time when they eat giant soft baits in the winter, especially whenever it's dirty water. We get rain every day here in Illinois in March and April and May, so it's definitely going to be super dirty water and you're gonna need something with a ton of vibration like this. Like I said, a chatterbait has replaced it for a lot of people, but for me, the more weedlessness of a spinnerbait is why I continue to use it. And then another one, like I said, around docks, whenever you're in slightly clear water, definitely try a double willow. And one not everybody does that I like to do is, especially with the SV3, there's a few lakes that we have that are all riprap, so I will throw these around riprap and almost use them like a crankbait and just slam them into rocks. Fishing a spinnerbait around rocks and really bouncing it into them is definitely not as popular as it should be, but due to the weedlessness of it, you can do it. So that's another thing you guys should try. So leave any questions down below if you have anything you want to know about throwing a spinnerbait, or especially leave comments below of recommendations of ones you guys like to throw. I know somebody said a Picasso titanium wire one. I'll definitely check that out and throw it this spring. I'm always looking for more spinnerbaits to try because I use them so often that the blades just go flying off when fish jump and you'll hit a dock skipping it and the thing is bent completely sideways and it's a mess. So don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you for watching.